There he is.
Oh, Taylor. Key to our...
Love it. And here we are, not on our natural Saturday, but we're here on Sunday. Sunday Fun Day.
Special edition.
What would Sunday be? It wouldn't be fun without it's these guys.
And I think my background is throwing off my timing, right? The voice syncing up. I think I might switch back.
Yeah? Okay. Your call. I think it's very rustic. You know, I have my same old background there. I got the Bruins over here, the Cardinal over there. You're going to hear my hot take. The Cardinal got destroyed by those big 30 teams, you know?
Yeah.
Terrible. Well, here we terrible, as Charles Barkley would say. Terrible. That's a hot take right there.
Barkley. You should go on the road with that.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good today. Niners won. It's like 4:30. It's like pitch black outside. It's kind of crazy. Winter is coming. That I don't feel good about. But I feel good about our show today because we have a barn burner coming up.
We got a barn burner.
It's a barn burner.
We do not overhype our material, but today we got the goods.
We got the
goods.
For sure. So, how have you been? What did your week what happened to you? Last week you were in New York City. Yeah. What were you up to this week, Dan?
This week I was definitely not in New York City. I came back ill, was laying low. As usual, I had taken the week off because I was going to go. My whole mission this off season, like the baseball players, they get in shape and learn how to sharpen their slider. Yeah. I want to declutter. I want to get some stuff. These stacks of books and papers in the office will be no more under my watch.
That's good. That's good. Because what they say is the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if your house is cluttered, you're cluttered.
Exactly. And I'm feeling it for real. I'm feeling it. So this is a decluttering search and destroy mission until further notice.
Okay. So I saw the other day you showed us your old press passes. Have you come across any hidden gems in your declutterification? If that's a word.
It's funny. I did come across some press passes yesterday, but I've stocked them away. So no, it is not. I've not reached into those drawers yet. It's honestly it's this one right here. That's middle one. It's chock full of baseball nuggets. So next week's show we'll dig into that guy. It's this guy.
That guy.
This is the one.
That guy right there. Good. See, it's difficult because
I'll show you one thing from that. I'll show you one thing. Are you guys? Yes. Are you aware of Pop Fly Art?
Pop Fly Art.
Well, this is going to be an unpaid promotion.
No, but I would love to see some Pop Fly art because it sounds interesting. There.
Random box, but so this guy, this Pop Fly, you can find it on Facebook or on Instagram. Pop Fly Shop. This guy takes baseball players and makes them into makes comic book covers based on the identity of the thing.
Oh.
What I find really fun about it is not always the superstars, and it's not always the modern superstars. So you've got guys like Ellis Valentine, Mickey Rivers, Bucky Dent.
Yes.
Guys who are not going to be in the Hall of Fame, but they were like in our day, the 1800s.
When we were young men back then.
I just grabbed a random one, so let's see what we got here.
Okay.
Let's see what we got here.
Let me think. Johnny LeMaster.
This is
Brett Butler.
It's Mario Mendoza, famed for the Mendoza line.
And we all know what the Mendoza line is.
If you pay extra, they signed. It's an autograph copy by Mario Mendoza. So
amazing.
Like
I love that.
Thing that I'm not a big collector, but I find this stuff boundlessly fascinating, and really like the kitsch element and the art and the salute to players who should be remembered for whatever reason.
I love that, and I love that you found it in that drawer right there.
Yeah,
we should have how they have the unveilings, right? Like we're gonna do that later today with the certain ballot you're getting. But imagine if we just filmed you like going into a mystery box
Yeah.
and seeing what was in there.
I will tell you that because this is a journalism, ostensibly a journalism show. One of the
It
great
is.
first sentences of all time was Sports Illustrated not all that long ago for their, they do what do they call their retroactive thing? It's like catching up with or where are they now is the
Oh
theme.
yeah, where are they now? I
Where are
love
they
those.
now? So they did
Yeah.
a thing on Mario Mendoza, who was managing in the Mexican League somewhere south of the border, and
Ah.
so the writer was in his house, and they were getting ready to go, and they got a call on the telephone. But the way that was rendered as the first line was, "The Mendoza line rings."
I see
Very
what you
clever.
did there. That sounds like something you would do there,
I
Sir Dan
wish. Yeah,
Brown.
I wish. We all wish. That's very clever. It was very clever. The Mendoza line rings.
Huh. Well, he's a manager there. I hope he has a good hitting coach.
Very good. See, that could have been a good second line.
I love it. So very
Oh,
good.
by the way, quick thing, Mendoza line, right? We think of
Yeah,
it as like 200, right? If you're hitting
yeah,
199 or
yeah,
whatever, but
yeah.
it's not. That's not really what it is.
What is
Is
it?
it's remember back in the day when you got your stats from newspapers because there was
That's
no
right.
baseball reference to check. Um,
USA Today,
they would
Tuesday
run the
edition.
they would run the stats for however many players they could fit, like major league averages from pretty much every ball player.
Yeah.
And George Brett, I think it was famously attributed to George Brett saying, "I just want to be above the Mendoza line." So wherever Mendoza was, which was sometimes 200, but not literally so. It could be 220, 230.
Or
He
maybe
just wanted to be
195.
above the Mendoza line.
So George Brett, the Mendoza line was invented because George was throwing shade.
I believe, I don't know if that's, I know that at least is the one origin story, and I believe it to be true. But
See that? That's what these kids would say these days. George Brett was throwing shade, savagely throwing shade.
everything else in that story, nobody would understand. Batting average is out, so nobody cares.
Nobody
Newspapers
cares.
are out. Newspapers are batting average in the newspaper is doubly out, and Mario Mendoza is mostly a forgotten.
And the USA Today is still around, I do believe.
Yeah.
I saw a newspaper the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I was staying in a Hampton Inn, and there was
Mm-hmm.
a USA Today there.
Yeah.
I was very happy to see that.
Yeah.
Took me back to the 90s when we would get the stats, right? The Tuesday stats for the AL. I think Wednesday was for the NL, and we would read the stats and go into XL, and then type them in, like type.
Yeah.
We,
Now
we
these
should.
days, mid-game where you stand in your fantasy standings because it's.
Oh, I know. Every minute, dude. Like some of these things update to the minute, right?
Yeah.
Like football for sure.
Yeah.
So by the way, how are you doing in your fantasy football league?
Well, I'm like very much like the Niners, who are 9-3, but you would not trust them in the Super Bowl. Like I've got this
No.
team that's winning lucky every week. I've
Okay.
clinched a playoff spot, but I'm middle of the pack in points on that team that annoys
Okay.
people. Like,
That's fine though.
so I don't.
So you're the 2007 version of the New York Giants. You never knew how did they get even to the Super Bowl? Oh, that's right. Brett Favre should have taken a knee, but he decided to throw a pass instead. That was intercepted.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's kind of me.
But that's okay because you know what they always say in fantasy football. I've always said this: the best team never wins.
Yeah.
It's not the worst team that always they don't. It's those middling teams,
Well,
right?
then I got the perfect team.
There you go.
It's in the middle of the pack in points gained, middle of the pack in points allowed. But every week it's just like this.
Okay.
This.
So
You? Or how are you doing?
I gave up fantasy football when I started to look at weather reports. So I just live vicariously through people like you, Dan.
Okay.
And then there's this other guy that he has. I told him don't draft any Browns, and he didn't, which was good because you couldn't draft Myles Garrett. That would be the only Brown you'd want to draft, who caused a bunch of trouble today. Now, speaking of football, though, Dan, I would love to tell you what my hot take is because I was looking at all the scores yesterday from college football, and it is very, it's rivalry weekend, so it was kind of cool. Alabama against Auburn, Notre Dame, I think, USC played UCLA, and Notre Dame played Stanford. Notre Dame destroyed Stanford, but I looked at the Big Ten, but they're like the Big 30.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask you, Dan. So when all these divisions started consolidating, right? The Pac-10 exists sort of, but it really doesn't. All the Pac-10 teams went to the Big 30. Do you think that was good for college football or not good for college football? Is it making teams more competitive or just less?
Well, this is your hot take, so I'm going to leave you to just finish your thought. We don't need to play peekaboo. We know what you think, so bring it.
I'm gonna say it's terrible. Wait, terrible, 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 terrible. Because you literally have in the same conference, or I guess in the same division, whatever you want to call it, as UCLA is number 1 Ohio State and number 2 Indiana. Terrible. They shouldn't even. Anyway, there's my hot take. But I'm curious about what you think.
Well, okay. For one, I'm not really a college football guy, so a little bit deferring on the question.
Okay.
I read a book in college called The 100-Yard Lie by Rick Tellender, which was all about the hypocrisy of big time college football.
Okay.
Because they held it up as these student athletes, this academic ideal, and all this stuff, and it's just so problematic in every way because at that time, especially, there were a lot of rogue programs that were very,
Brock Bosworth.
Yeah, I mean, there was a sham of amateurism and scholastic pursuit of these athletes, and a lot of the big winners back then, a lot of the top teams were ending up on probation or being punished, or you'd find out all kinds of crazy stuff happening. And the NIL thing is now kind of licensed some of that stuff, which is good. Just get it out of the open. If this is not really amateur athletics and we're pay for play kind of thing, I guess that at least reduces the hypocrisy. But from what you're saying, I can only bring a lukewarm take, which is as a West Coast college football observer, the Pac-10, the rivalries don't mean anything. West Coast football has never been more irrelevant across the board. I mean, Oregon, I guess they're West Coast, so I guess I should. But it's just a weird landscape for people who grew up following the Pac-10. It's just tough to make sense of the landscape right now. It's just weird. ACC,
or as Charles Barkley would say, terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah. So we should have just ended on your hot take, is what I'm saying.
No, Dan, I'd love to hear what you have to say. You are the Hall of Fame writer, as a matter of fact. So it's always good to hear what you have to say. Now, speaking of which, we have a very interesting journalism question that came in from a high schooler that happened to be on. I found this on one of the, I don't know if it was a job board or one of the, somebody was posting to a journalism forum, and they're applying to college. Or maybe this was a month ago and they did apply to college, but I thought this would be a good question for you. Now, it's a kind of a long one, but I'm going to read the real crux of it right here. Okay. This is from Angelina. I'm applying to a university for journalism and I need to write a letter of intent. It says to introduce myself to the admission committee. How much detail should I go into? I've mentioned my current studies, name, age, but what else? And she basically says the prompt talks about, tell us about a work of journalism you feel is important and inspiring. The journalism you write about can be from a newspaper, an online publication, audio, video, or multimedia. Now, see, this is different than in our times. It would literally be either newspaper or broadcast, right? Radio, TV. So it could be multimedia. So it says it can be a piece of journalism that has had national or international attention. It can also be journalism that has made a difference to a smaller community. Okay, so she's asking how extensive should she go into this? There's no limit on words, but it is a journalism program. So I'm interested to hear your take on this question.
Well, I really like this question. And but in our day, it was also you could cave dwelling would count as a
That's right.
yeah.
The chip on the right.
Um, but no, it's a really good question, and it's Angelina who we don't know if she watches this thing, but it was a good question that
No,
probably could a
no.
lot of people are going to run into stuff like this if they're aspiring journalists. They're going to get questions and then get apply for things. And first of all, I would take the question very literally, but the second part, the prompt of not, I don't think they want to know much about your upbringing, your activities in school, your your other outside interests, your sports, whatever. They want to know the answer to that question, like what journalism inspired you. And I don't think it has to be just one thing. It could be, you could pick one seminal thing that you read, and I really think they mean that literally. Like they're talking about personal impact. You read it, it affected you, it inspired you to do that kind of same work in your life and times. And it could be something, an international thing that you read about in the New York Times about something that's happening in South America, and it changed your world, and you sent it to a bunch of friends. Or it could be something from your community newspaper that local resident who had accomplished something that you previously unknown. And I think that's a good way. Like I like the idea of the prompt because I think you're going to find out if you're going to accept students, journalism students, you want to find somebody who's passionate about it and gets why and gets how important it can be, and the ways in which it can touch a wide range of people or the right range of people. Like if it's something in your hometown and there's an expose of a corrupt councilman and it changed the dynamics of the city and changed the way money was spent, and like all these public safety things, and or even sport. I could list now. I mean, I'd be curious too if you have stuff like this. I could list now 10 different stories that when I was growing up affected the way I wanted to do the job and like the notion of wanting to do the job in the first place. So
yes,
I mentioned this under the stove, and this was in this drawer back here.
Oh, the drawer.
So this is a magazine from 1979, J.R. Richard profile.
That's J.R. Richard, yes.
At the time, J.R. Richard was a phenomenal 6'8" pitcher blowing the ball past everybody, but he was an enigmatic presence. And this magazine had a story that wrote a very compelling, very complicated portrait of a misunderstood person. And until then, I don't think I realized that sports journalism could do that. I thought who won, who lost, what are the stats, that kind of thing. But this took like this mythical figure in my eyes and made him human and flawed and powerful and charismatic. And just because the story ends with about like how many contradictions the reporter had experienced just over a couple of days with this guy. And anyway, that profoundly changed me to this day. And I think of stories like, a 100-Yard Lie I read in college. It shaped how I view college football. There was a writer named Larry Stone who worked for my local paper and covered the Giants, and I realized that a local beat writer that you follow and admire their work and learn their voice and learn their style, like I really admired him a lot. And then I got to know him when I became a sports writer. I used to read.
You're like my man.
Yeah, and he just boundlessly got a kick out of that. But we've all had it. We've all read a story, and I think the good measure for what you talk about is like, did you send it to a friend? Did you post it on your social media? Did you share it in some way? And think about why you did that. What moved you? What was it about it that needed to be shared and felt urgent to pass on to somebody else?
Yeah, that's a
good
one.
What journalism is. You're trying to make people feel what you feel.
That's a good one. And that's a good one, no matter if it's cave drawings back in our days, broadcast television, or if they say multimedia. If you're sharing, right? Yeah. Obviously, sometimes I come across. I'm a big fan of YouTube, so I see a lot of like nice little 10 to 12 minute YouTube videos. I was watching one on Oz Perlman, the guy that is the mentalist. They think he's like doing all these magic tricks, but he literally is just observing people, observes people. And he said he pays attention when he's in conversations, when he's learning about people, he's just paying attention. So I shared that to a bunch of people that don't pay attention. So I'm like, look, This could be you.
Did you share that with other poker players? Because I think that would be a
Oh
useful.
no, I'm trying to crack the code on that one. I'm like, hey Oz, maybe you can help me here.
Yeah, we've
I
all
guess
done.
his name's Oz.
I've seen a lot of really good interview clips recently on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, where
Yeah.
people really get into the heart of somebody. And I think even that, I mean, that's journalism, right? Even if it's a talk show. I've seen Rich Eisen. There's a string of Rich Eisen, the ESPN NFL Network guy, interviewing actors about their craft, and it's really compelling. He has really good questions, and you find out behind the scenes of some movie stuff, and it's incredible. And that's journalism. Is like, how do you find out more about something you think you know? So a long way. I mean, just to reiterate, like that's the heart of the question. It's not your background, like,
It's good.
and I would also really lean into specificity, because if you're going to write, I read this story and it really moved me. Like, okay, well, what pressed your buttons? Where did you feel the humanity? What was about it, the art or the craft of the making of the thing that thought I can do that? Like circle lines, circle paragraphs, and talk about very specifically how you felt. I don't think you're going to stand out. You're not going to stand out if you say like, I really liked it. It really inspired me.
Right.
You're
There's no
go
why.
to the next level of like, what rang your soul deep down.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I lost the train. It's here. It's there. No, that's. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Imagine if you put yourself in the shoes of a journalist asking yourself those questions. So you would ask, okay, you read this article. Why? What
Right.
moved you about that? And then they would say, and then, okay, how did that impact your life? Like what
Right.
action did you take? And
Very,
what
very
sparked
good.
that action?
Yeah.
Right. Things
I
like
think that, yeah. So I think that's a good follow-up prompt for somebody who sits down to write it. Like, pretend a journalist is asking, like, okay, at what point in the story were you lost in it? At what point were you absorbed? At what point were you invested in the story? And like, why? I think it's fun.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
great.
do you have the equivalent? Like I got.
You know what?
Like,
That's
wait,
funny.
I'm sorry. I want to mention one more because I tried to
Yeah.
find it. I was going to read it on the air here.
Oh,
Lee Montville, and see, remember, Sports Illustrated used to be the greatest thing ever, and then
ever.
it was long gone. But there was an SI Vault, and you could go find old stories from Sports Illustrated, like vintage classic
I
Sports.
didn't know that.
Now they don't really have that. So, but Lee Montville's 1990 Sportsman of the Year profile of Joe Montana began with, "You could be Joe Montana, yes you could," and then it just kind of kept that rhythm throughout, and painted the portrait of like Montana. What he does looks so simple. He's not throwing hard. He's not throwing deep. He's not an athletic specimen. There's an everyman quality to his physicality.
Yeah.
It made you kind of convinced that you could do what he does, because that's how it used to look.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's one of the greatest things ever written.
It was like the average Joe or whatever, right? They used that term. Yeah. I was with you when Sports Illustrated. I was just like every article was really well written, right? And had I wanted to go into sports journalism, that would be like the Bible for me, right? Because even like golf, I didn't know anything about golf, but the photography was so great, and the way they told the story about these guys. Like I remember when Tom Watson was like in his late 40s and he won his final, I think Masters maybe, or he won his final championship there, a major. Yeah. And I remember that article pretty well. But to answer,
is that a Rick Riley?
I don't remember the name of the guy, but probably whoever. If you know a guy that's the golf guy, then yeah, it's probably him.
Rick Riley was one of the. I mean, he is one of the great sports writers ever. He's in his prime. Writing about golf was incredible. So I suspect it was him.
So I'm going to answer your question, and I'm going to throw out somebody that you know of. I don't know if you ever met him because you did work for that publication, but so for me, when I was growing up, there really wasn't any science writers per
Hmm.
se. I mean, there was science sections, like the New York Times, right, was one of the few newspapers in the country that actually had a science, section, and like they focused on science. My local newspaper, oh well, not local, but just the paper I would get every day was the San Francisco Chronicle.
Hmm.
They didn't really have that, but my guy was Herb Caen. And I'll tell you why Herb
Uh-huh.
Caen. Okay. So it's exactly what you just said, Dan. It's so funny because it would be that's the guy that whatever he's writing about, you'd want to pass it along. Like
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
was in society or I was in San Francisco, I'd say, "Hey Dan, did you hear around the water cooler?" I'd be, "Hey, did you hear what Cain said about the play? It's really good." Like
Yeah.
you remember Herb Caen wrote about everything. He wrote about society, he wrote about arts and entertainment. He wrote about sports, even right, the sports teams coming in. Da, 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 da. What that to me was, he was taking information that people didn't have access to, or
Hmm.
it would be very difficult for them to have access to, and he put it out there so they were easily able to get it, understand it, and take action through it. So that was my whole thing of
Yeah.
getting into science journalism, because it was so hard for people to get science and medical information or even understand it, right? Because back in the day, it was like Science Magazine. That was not like a Sports Illustrated. That was a very highly technical magazine where they were publishing white papers,
Yeah.
right? Nature, same thing. So that's a long winded answer to say it was Herb Caen.
Well, Herb Crane's a great one because he's one of the short list of people who would write deceptively simple sentences. It looked like he had just rattle them off, but he was saying so much and so cleverly. But they weren't these long, flourish-filled sentences. They weren't these epic, you know. It looked like he wasn't even trying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like he'd abbreviate words. He had kind of his own language, his own inside jokes, and it looked like he was just riffing in a bar. But it was conveying so much in such a deceptively simple way,
Right.
and that's good. That's the good stuff.
Just like one little column there.
Yeah,
He
one
would
little
run
column.
that one column all the way down and he'd tell you like a million different things.
You want
So,
a Pulitzer? You want a Pulitzer Prize?
yeah. Okay. Good for him. I mean, that was my guy right there, Herb Caen.
Yeah.
So I never got to meet him. Did you ever get a chance to meet him when you were at the Cron?
I'm trying. I was not never at the Chronicle. Susan was at the
You were
Chronicle.
never
I
at the
think the
Chronicle.
tail
Oh,
end, and
you were at
he.
the Merc the
I
whole
think
time.
I saw him. I never met him.
Okay. Okay. Cool. You were at the competition. You were the
I was
San Jose Mercury News.
San Jose Mercury News. Yeah.
That's funny. Okay. Oh, why I thought you were at the Chronicle, because one time when we met up in Baltimore, I think for the not Baltimore, we were in New Orleans for the Niners Baltimore Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You were running around with Schulman, and he
Oh,
was
that's right.
Chronicle, right?
Yeah, he was Chronicle. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Now I'm clear. Okay, so now we're getting to some exciting stuff here. We have what I did this past week, I guess you could say, and then what we're going to talk about an unveiling of what you got in the mail. So when I hit you up on this, you're like, "Oh, dude, we got to put this in the Run of Show. We got it for sure." So I'm like, "Okay, cool. How can I make this into a sports question?" Which I did, by the way. If you did read the Run of Show, I made a beef Wellington. Now, you've told me that you've made beef Wellingtons before, yes?
I did. I did, but I didn't make the pastry. I bought the pastry pre-made.
Okay, so here's the whole thing, right? If people out there don't know what a beef Wellington is, it's a steak. It's a fillet, basically, a nice thick fillet, and you layer it and you wrap it. So you make crepes, you wrap it in the crepe, and then you put some mushrooms in it, and then I put some prosciutto
Ooh,
because
so
Gordon Ramsay said put some prosciutto. Oh, by the way, he's my inspiration for doing a Wellington. And then you put the puff pastry around it. Now, see, my puff pastry is kind of like torn up a bit there, but it didn't leak. Okay.
no, that's what the
So
kids call it, golden brown.
it was good, man. And I was really concerned about the center. Now, I like my center nice and mid rare.
Yeah,
And look at that. It came
yeah, it's
out.
pretty rare.
It's pretty rare. So I liked it, melted in my mouth, but it was an all day endeavor. Now I did some filming and I did a rookie move. I forgot to actually film myself eating it terrible. Um, you're gonna love this, Dan. So do you see this right there where it says 000?
Yeah.
I thought I was filming the video of me
Oh
cutting
boy.
it and eating it,
I'm not
but
sure I'd be
it
sharing that
was one.
publicly.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So rookie. I was a rookie.
Shameful.
Now, this brings up this question that I ginned up that I'd like to ask you.
Yeah.
Imagine now, would you, let's say this, would you consider or even make up that cooking could be a sport? Or is there such a thing as the sport of cooking? I know they have competition shows, but would you consider that a sport or a hobby?
That's a great one. Because we've talked before on the show about what's the definition of sport, and my
Sport,
my
yeah.
interpretation's got to say pretty liberal.
Yeah.
I do think there's a wide range of sports because hot dog eating,
Yeah.
um,
Fly
pickleball,
fishing.
of course, is sport. Cheerleading, I think I
Yeah.
would lean towards yes because of the athleticism involved. So I'm not really a stalwart. It's got to have a ball kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cooking though,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the physicality of it, which I'm thinking is limited. I'm thinking is limited.
Okay.
Strategy also. So I'm not an advanced culinary expert myself. So I might be
Okay.
speaking out of turn. The
Okay.
strategy, and in most cases, also limited because you're sticking to a recipe.
You're following a recipe.
It shows
right
like
here.
Chopped, where you just get the ingredients and you just go from there, which is that gets pretty sporty,
There
right?
are shows like that.
Yeah, Chopped. They just give you random ingredients. And you go, I know what I can do with this. I'll make
And then you do a thing. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say no, but I will listen to if we get comments during the week to reconsider.
That would be a good one, actually. Okay. We'll revisit that next week if we get any comments on this one. This one's going to be a good short for sure. Okay. Now, I understand there's an unboxing that's going to happen that you waited for us on the show, all of us out there. And let's make sure we don't have any comments coming through. I'm interested to see what you have in the mail there, sir.
So we taped our show last Saturday at, I don't know, noon Pacific, and then at 2 Pacific.
Yeah.
What arrived was my Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, shipped from 25 Main Street, Cooperstown, New York. This is what it looks like. I've got the bright lights here. Let me see if I can.
There it is. There it is. They actually
comes,
shipped that from Cooperstown.
Shipped from Cooperstown, and it comes. I really like. I get the lighting back here. I really like the old school nature of the Hall of Fame voting. Now there is an electronic component, and some of it is safeguarding to make sure you've got to register. Well, I won't go into the details because it's a precaution, but they do make sure that the people aren't going to Kinko's with these and sending in.
And I'm not voting.
Omar
Somebody
Vizquel.
like me.
There are safeguards in place to prevent that kind of nonsense. So
I voted for Barry Bonds 900 times. All right, they're like, how do you get that many votes?
But this is what it looks like, and so I'm going to open it right here. I don't usually get so sophisticated. I have a letter opener somewhere for this. So
we got to hear the rip here. Okay, let's put up the volume right here.
Let it rip. Oh, here we go. A letter opener. And you'll just see this isn't, this is, I should say, I do this very respectfully. And this is like almost a religious experience for me. Because
I know.
If you respect the Hall of Fame, you respect the history of the game, this is a monumental part of the process. And I'm honored to be part of it. And this isn't like, ha, 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 look at this. This is for people who also appreciate the history of the game to just feel what it's like. So again, open the envelope.
And we all feel honored here that you're doing it with us here.
Right. This is the cover letter that comes with it. I've read it in the past, but I'll read the paragraph.
Uh-oh. You just cut out, I think.
No, I'm sorry. My hand, in my excitement. All right.
Okay.
So I pulled out the letter. The welcoming letter for the Hall of Fame ballot. It says, Dear BBWAA member, enclosed, please find the 2026 Hall of Fame ballot. Chills. It's a huge friggin' deal. Developed by your screening committee and prepared by Jack O'Connell, your secretary treasurer. Then it explains candidates must receive 75% or more of ballots cast or an election, runs through the process. I'm looking for any other like little meaningful things. The deadline, they're going to announce it this year on January 22nd, 2026, during the 6 p.m. Eastern hour on the MLB Network. Your participation in Hall of Fame voting is greatly appreciated. On behalf of the Hall of Fame staff, I would like to thank you and your colleagues for your continued support and cooperation. Signed Josh Rawitch, who when I was on the Giants beat was essentially a glorified intern for MLB Network or MLB.com.
Wow.
So I'm so glad I was nice to him.
Oh, hey, so did he sign it? Like, is it really signed, or is that like
the auto
stamped?
pen? So Trump would say,
Wow.
"This is you
Okay.
throw this
Okay.
out." Yeah.
All right. So they're not quite super old school like that.
Then you get a
Like, they
reminder
had
of
the feather.
reminder of last year's voting.
Okay.
Ichiro, CC Sabathia, Wagner are up there on the top in bold because they got elected.
Mm-hmm.
Carlo Beltran, Andrew Jones, Chase Utley were the top three non-entrants. They list that this is interesting. They give you a breakdown. 2026 ballot, the number of years on the ballot. So 10th year, Manny Ramirez, 10th and final. 9th year, Andrew Jones, Omar Vizquel. One of those guys has been trending up. One of the other guys, Omar Vizquel, not so much.
I loved Omar.
8th year, Andy Pettit. 7th year, Bobby Abreu. 6th year, Mark Burley, Torrey Hunter. 5th year, Alex Rodriguez, Jimmy Rollins. 4th year, Carlos Beltran, Francisco Rodriguez. 3rd year, Chase Utley, David Wright. 2nd year, Felix Hernandez, Dustin Pedroia. I've grown to really, I'm a relatively new Hall of Fame voter, but maybe it's my 6th year doing this. I've grown to really appreciate the length of time that they're on the ballot, because I think we do understand somebody's career in a different light as the years go past. So I'll run through well, you know what? I'm going to read the names on the, do you want me to read the names on the ballot? It's a pretty long list, but I'll read the names on the ballot and you acknowledge them with a noise, whether it's a gasp, a meh,
Okay. So these are the ones that have just got on the ballot now.
This is everybody.
Okay.
So if I read Willie Mays, you'd go, yeah. And if I read John O'Mash, you'd say pass. So, whatever.
Okay, got it.
This isn't necessarily how you'd vote, but just your initial reaction to hearing the name. Okay. I'm going across. And I'll read them fairly quickly, so have your noise at the ready, please.
I'm ready.
Bobby Abreu.
Nah.
Carlos Beltran.
Yes.
Brian Braun.
No.
Mark Burley.
Yes.
Shin-Soo Choo.
Oh, well, I don't think he had enough time. No.
Edwin Encarnacion.
Oh, nah.
Theo Gonzalez.
No.
Alex Gordon.
No.
Cole Hamels.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Next column.
Okay.
Felix Hernandez.
Yes.
Torrey Hunter.
Mid.
Andrew Jones.
Yes.
Matt Kemp.
Yes.
Howie Kendrick.
No.
Nick Markakis.
Oh, yes. Baltimore Oriole.
Okay.
Baltimore Oriole.
Daniel Murphy.
No.
Dustin Pedroia.
Yes.
Hunter Pence.
Ooh, yes. As a Giant fan, absolutely.
Andy Pettit.
Yes.
Rick Porcello.
No.
Won a Cy Young, by the way. Manny Ramirez.
Yes.
Alex Rodriguez.
Yes.
Francisco Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jimmy Rollins.
Me.
Chase Utley.
Yes.
Omar Vizquel.
No.
David Wright.
No.
So that's the Hall of Fame ballot of 2026.
Dude, I would vote for like a lot of people.
Yeah.
How many can you vote for?
You can vote for up to 10.
Okay. So I would have to tear it down.
I tend to lean towards 10 every year because even if sometimes it's just to get somebody momentum. I know that my vote is probably not going to make or break them.
Yeah.
Or it buys them another year on the ballot because if you don't get at least 5% on the ballot, you fall off. And the BBWA has made terrible mistakes with letting somebody like Kenny Lofton go off the ballot,
I love that guy. Yeah. That guy did make it to the Hall of Fame. Kenny Lofton was the man.
I think he was on one ballot, didn't get the 5%. We just didn't understand stats the way we do now. his on base percentage, his WAR, his
Insane.
all this stuff that didn't
Yeah.
exist back then.
Yeah.
So my reaction to this ballot is that let's say 90% of these, I don't know, for a great majority of these people on the ballot, you could make a case for and you could make a case against.
Yeah.
There's not an Ichiro where there's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Alex Rodriguez, great player. How do you deal with the PEDs? It's complicated to clear.
Yeah. I would have voted all those guys in. Sin Shu Chu, though, I didn't think he played long enough.
10 years, I think, is the ballot.
Huh.
Bobby Abreu, his empirical case is pretty solid. Is he a Hall of Famer? Would you bring your kid to go see him? Would you say, like, I saw Bobby Abreu play, I'll never forget it?
Yeah.
And
same with Hunter Pence. Like, I said yay to Hunter Pence, but no, Hunter should not be in the Hall of Fame.
He should not be in the Hall of Fame. Andrew Jones, if you vote for Andrew Jones, you vote for Torrey Hunter. They're both incredible defensive outfielders with some sock. Not Willie Mays, but they were.
Yeah. See, I think you're right about that, but Torrey Hunter got less press than Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones was on all those winning Braves teams. Exactly. Hunter was up in Minnesota. What do you think about Andy Pettitte?
There's also the PED issue with Andy Pettitte. I do think that I do think that that there's a stretch of starting pitchers who have been ignored, like the whole 90s, other than the big three from Atlanta, like that they're kind of underappreciated. We're not that many starting pitchers from the 80s, for example. We've just struggled as a voting bloc to comprehend and appreciate what makes a great Hall of Famer when it's not Cy Young winning 511 games or
or Nolan Ryan striking out 5,000
people. What do we do when pitchers are throwing fewer innings, winning fewer games, when we know that wins aren't the best measure for pitcher? Like, we're going to start looking at things like fielding independent pitching to determine Hall of Famers, ERA plus, adjusted ERA plus, things like that. It's not like how many times did they win 20 games.
Yeah, ERA plus.
I think that the crop of infielders, Pedroia, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, David Wright, you could make a case for all of them. You could say their runs were too short. You could say they don't stack up against the all-timers, but their peaks were great peaks, and they, Utley MVP. I'm saying not Utley, Rollins MVP, Pedroia MVP. Wright, I don't think he won one, but it was always in contention. Like, these were great. These were among the best players of their position for how long? Yeah. So I run into the problem as a voter with someone like Utley, who I voted for last year.
Mm-hmm.
But Lou Whitaker's not in, and it makes me mad. Like, I don't want Utley to go in before I think Whitaker is much more deserving. Bobby Grich for that. And then you think, well, does it work the other way? Like, Utley goes in, or is the Veterans Committee go, well, then Whitaker,
right?
These things. I try to be really consistent with my voting, which is why, for me, one of the determining factors on my vote, by mid-December, early December, we're going to find out what the Veterans Committee does with Barry Bonds, who's on the short list of finalists this year. If he gets in, that changes how I look at Alex Rodriguez, to be honest. If Barry Bonds is out, that also affects how I look at Alex Rodriguez.
Then you wouldn't throw a vote his way.
I voted for him in the recent years because I as somebody who covered the steroid era, I've really gone back and forth on it. But to me, once Seeley got in, who presided over that entire era and really profited from that whole era, there was no repercussions for him. Managers like Tony La Russa, who won World Series with guys who were juiced. They benefited it. They blind eye, whatever. There was some
George W. Bush. Remember that Ranger team?
Yeah, I will say, the issue with the blind eye, which sports writers get accused of too, because it was true, but it's a little bit blind eye, but also, you can ask a player, are you juicing? And they go, no, sir, I'm not. And then you can't test their urine. You can't submit them to a drug test. You can't there's no you can ask somebody else, but even if they said, yeah, this guy's juicing, that's not necessarily proof. Like, it took a FBI raid of the Balco labs to kind of get some information, which, that's not at the Tony La Russa couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. The commissioner couldn't. Well, maybe the commissioner could. But blind eye is one thing, but it was also like, even if your eyes were wide open, getting to who was juicing and who wasn't was a mystery. And it'll look worse and worse in retrospect when people realize like how naive we were. But there's a Wild West element to that steroid era, and it doesn't excuse the way journalists handle it. It doesn't excuse some of what the players did, but it does get fuzzy when players who have been heavily suspected of PED use are in, and others aren't.
What do you think about, like, you covered baseball during that time? Like,
Yeah.
literally, that was during the heyday.
By
the way, you're gonna,
specifically, I was on the Giants beat for 2000,
yeah.
2001, 2002.
Right. When Bonds, that whole thing. You'll be on a Ken Burns documentary one of these days when he looks into that. But like, looking back on that, you're probably one of the handful of people that can speak pretty authoritatively on how things were back then, and what you just said right here, why that's such a great clip. Because people can look back at it and say, oh, well, this or that, but you lived it, man. You lived it.
I lived it. I think, 1 year earlier would have behooved. I started in 2000 and Bond showed up huge. And, I had not seen what he looked like up close personally in 97, 98, 99. But I saw it and people were like, this guy is huge. And, you saw how big he was, and you saw how big everybody was back then. And if you don't see that now, you don't see body types. And, I hate to throw out names because I don't want to implicate anybody, and I don't know, but there were a lot of very large specimens playing baseball those days, like Jurassic Park baseball, just these thundering.
Well, and then little guys that got big. I'll throw out a name because I was there in Baltimore when I was following this player was Brady Anderson.
Yeah.
Right. Fast guy. He was a fast guy.
Yeah.
Then next thing you know, he's like jacked. I mean, he took his shirt off and he's just ripped, and then he hits 50 home runs.
Yeah. So, back then, the plausible deniability, the what athletes would say, hey, look, guys of the other previous generations didn't. You go to the weight room. It's fairly new to baseball. As recently as the early 80s, it's taboo to go lift. And now we understand weightlifting. We understand nutrition. We understand protein. We understand supplements. We're training harder. We're not smoking packs. We're not smoking cigarettes in the dugout as players. We're not smoking after games. We take care of our bodies. This is what elite athletes look like with the proper training. Like, okay. Okay. Bond used to talk about his broccoli intake.
And flaxseed oil. Because I remember I started, because I was playing softball, I started to eat flaxseed oil. Oh, it was the most terrible tasting stuff ever. Right. And I didn't see any difference. I wasn't hitting any more home runs.
So part of this is like, I also saw the pitchers that were coming into face, these previously indistinct middle relievers were also huge. So like the whole, I think it was Canseco whose credibility is debatable, but at one point he said, I 70% of baseball players are juicing or something, some really high number, which may have been, it may have been true.
Yeah.
Or at least it was not, 10%. It wasn't 20%. It wasn't some minuscule handful of guys like Bonds. It was a subculture of people who were doing it.
Yeah.
But I was there. I saw a lot of stuff. I still, if I had to put my numbers on stuff, I would really struggle because you just didn't know. And the people who say, hey, look, Bonds, you still have to square up a baseball. He's still the best hitter ever. So it takes a lot of hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
To do that. Like, okay, but nobody ever makes that argument with Sosa. Nobody makes that argument with McGwire. Like, it's somehow specifically just to Bonds.
Yeah.
Like, no. If you take steroids, if you get bigger, you are going to hit way more home runs. That's just like demonstrably true if you look at the stats and the body types
Yeah.
of the 2000s, because we're not seeing. Well, actually, we did see Cal Raleigh hit 60
Huh.
plus this past year, but it is where I ended up as a voter is, do I have all the information I know to be judge and jury on this thing? And that's a different change from when I was covering it at the time. I thought we are distorting the record books. Not we are this era is distorting the record books beyond recognition. This whole hierarchy, if you look at the all-time home run list, to
Mhm.
me shouldn't have Sosa above Frank Robinson. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think this is fair. I don't think this is a good fight. I don't like the way this is reordered. This whole Maris thing in the mythology of 61 is now like people are blowing by it. Several people a year are blowing by it, and it just
Yeah.
felt wrong to me. And I thought these people should not be anybody juicing from this era should not be rewarded for doing damage to the game. And there are lots of people to this day who say like, I love that era. It was so much fun. It was so much fun to watch. But you, I didn't.
Boom!
It was. I mean, I was both. I mean, I was writing about it and chronicling it, and it was
Yeah.
incredible storytelling. But I look back with some degree of um, regret, wistfulness, frustration about what I saw wasn't probably the increased power of the human accomplishment. It was enhanced. It was distorted. It was false. There was something about it that was phony, and I didn't. I struggle with that, and I understand why people like I'm saying I vote these players in now
Yeah.
because I can't play judge and jury on it. But there is a there. It is not people who call it make go. It's easy. They were great players. Put them in. Well, okay. Somebody wrote because Susan was the president of the Baseball Association of America for a while, and somebody wrote and said, "How can I take my kid to the Hall of Fame and explain to him why Barry Bonds isn't in there? This is ridiculous." And I'm thinking that's an easy one. Like
Yeah.
you tell him Barry Bonds cheated. Like he was a great player. He had it all. He had talent, brains, skill, and he took an advantage that took up advantage of something that was, if not illegal, certainly verboten in baseball, and
Yeah.
tarnished his reputation and tarnished the game. And you don't do that, little leaguer. Don't take shortcuts.
Don't.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
so that was the whole problem with that era, is because I think that was the time when you would tell people like, "Hey, man, take shortcuts. Everybody else." It's like that argument with like everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is doing it. You better do it too to keep up. And it put a lot of pressure on the minor leaguers of that era, of the fringe player of that era, that if you don't start juicing too, somebody who is going to take your roster spot.
And they did. They would start to juice because of that.
Yeah. So I'm not saying, if people want to argue the other side, I will listen. Like you shouldn't vote for those players.
Yeah.
There's a great, but anybody who says that's an easy one isn't thinking hard enough about the contradictions.
Not easy. No, not at all. So this is interesting. When are you planning to cast your votes? And I know that you publicize your votes, and that'd be cool if on one of our future shows we go through those and get where
Yeah,
your head is. Yeah,
yeah,
with this. What
I
do you
do it
think?
late in the process because one of the things
Okay.
I like to do is read what other voters are thinking. I don't, it's not. I just like to hear arguments for and against. Maybe somebody saw more of Dustin Pedroia than I did.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe there's a part of Francisco Rodriguez, like Billy Wagner went in last year, right? So how do Billy and Wagner,
God.
Francisco Rodriguez stack
Yeah.
up against each other comparatively? um, it is I like hearing as much as I can before I vote, and I'm telling you that the veterans, I can't. This is who
Oh
I
yeah. When is
remember.
that? When
I
do they
think I
decide?
think it's during the winter meetings, which is
Okay.
December 9th, 10th,
In this
somewhere in that
December. Yeah.
range.
So that's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. So
We'll have to talk
what
about
I
that.
remember about that ballot is because that's not a BBWA, that's a separate committee, but
Hmm.
it's Fernando Valenzuela, Don Mattingly, Dale Murphy, Barry Bonds,
Roger
Roger.
Clemens.
I think Clemens is on there. I can't
Because
swear by that.
they were in the same, right? Weren't they in the same class?
I guess that would be the same. Yeah, I guess maybe those are the 5. That sounds right.
So you said that Bonds is like how close did he get last year? Was he close last year?
Well, he's been off for a couple of years, but I think you know what, I'll do that while looking. I'm curious to see where he's been on the committee before, and he did not get the Veterans Committee support at all, which was a surprise to me and revealing to me that because that one's stocked with not completely, but there are several ex-players on any given Veterans Committee.
Okay.
And even with that as his backdrop, he did not fare well, and he didn't come close to election.
Huh.
So in his final year on the Baseball Hall of Fame, he got 66% of the vote, okay, in 2022, and you need 75%. And he had gone steadily up from the first ballot he was on, it was 36%. And then he made it as high as 66%, but he did not.
The 75.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well,
you're putting him in.
I'm interested to see what happens, and we'll have to talk about that in the future show. But what do you got cooking for the upcoming week, Dan? You got anything to promote?
I've got a week off.
Okay.
But tell me about the Dusty Baker story.
Well, a previous one. Do you have a new one?
Well, I don't want to give away the whole story because I don't know who else is on this. So okay. I will just say, as a fun aside, I had a real. I covered Dusty Baker back in the day, and
you guys are buds.
Fairly good terms with him. But during the off season, he kind of lays low and had really savors his privacy. So I reached out to somebody from the Giants and said, I want Dusty for something. I just need him. Is he going to be at a thing? Is he doing the events? I don't want to bug him in the off season. And she said, the woman I talked to said, I'm seeing him tomorrow. And she said, I'll ask him what he thinks. And she circled back and said, Dusty says, call him anytime. He's your biggest fan.
You and Dusty, man. I knew it.
So I called him. It was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And he says, I'm driving to pick up some pies. It's going to take 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes.
I love it.
10 minutes as he drove to pick up. I said, well, anyways, we had a whole 4 of those minutes we're talking about pies, but.
Okay. So you're going to gin up a story coming up, probably not releasing next week, but you'll have a story coming up soon.
Yeah.
Cool.
Correct.
Good. Well, Dan, as always, amazing. That Hall of Fame segment, the Hall of Fame segment, really good. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's incredible. And see, we are a journalism show. So see, you too out there, if you dedicate yourself to your profession and just keep going.
Buy a magazine.
Yes. Keep going. And, the next thing you know, you're going to be voting for, I guess, Ohtani. When he comes in, he'll get like 99% of the votes, right? So you too can be there. So that's cool. And now we got Tay play us out, Dan. As always, great to see you. See you next week. Thanks everyone for joining us. We're gonna cut this one up. Hall of Fame stuff. Wow, this is incredible.
Wellington stuff.
And Beef Wellington. I have lots of leftovers. Dan, if you were closer here, you would be coming over and we'd be eating some Wellington.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
See ya.